I have it in my heart, Michael.
That's great.
Where'd you go?
Well, I'm not sure what happened to Michael, but
that's great.
Oh,
is he back, Michael? Where did our Michael go? Well, as editor-in-chief, I will step foot in here for a second until he's back. Okay, thank goodness he is back and hopefully attaching to audio, and Ashley will find him. Gotta love it. It's like live television, except
except we don't have a script.
Yeah, or even that. Yeah, wow. And
not sure how that happened, but I'm back. That's the magic of Zoomland.
Welcome back.
I'm assuming you all talked about me during those 8 seconds when I was gone. Jeff, how did you come to join General Hospital? Had you ever done a daytime soap opera ever?
I did 2 day jobs on daytime way back in the 80s. It was like there was a casting, there was actually a talent agent who was known as the Queen of the Under Fives. And there are certain roles where you have under 5 lines that can pay you a lot less money. And journeyman actors just coming up would go in for these jobs. And there was a casting director for Days of Our Lives who was really good at giving actors a chance. When she saw someone with talent, she wanted to put them up. So yeah, I played bartender number 1 and someone else at some point. And back then they would shoot an episode all day long. They would shoot 1 episode. Right. And it was a different animal than it is today.
Yeah, I understand it was dress rehearsal, block and tape, and then meal, and then they would shoot it chronologically. And now I hear you guys just like walk to set and it's like, okay, on that line, go there, we're going to shoot it.
Well, it's a little bit, that's almost right. When you're shooting in the morning, you go there and before you get made up and in your clothes, you walk through the scenes once. That's your rehearsal. And they tell you where they want you to go, and then you go get ready. And ideally, everyone knows their lines, and you show up and you get to shoot it one time. But then everything that's in that set, you shoot all at once.
Right, right. When the role was described to you, did you know like how embroiled that Cyrus would become in the pairings with Laura and Martin and working with Jeannie and Michael? Did you know that it was going to expand like that?
No, because it wasn't meant to expand like that. It was, I think, like a 6-week job or a 3-month job or something like that. And then they, they enjoyed the chemistry that was happening, so they extended it. And Frank just said, as long as you're enjoying yourself, we're going to keep writing for you until they stopped. But yeah, it just went on. It was the job that kept on giving, and it took care of me, during the COVID experience when so many people weren't working. We were like the second show back.
Yeah, it's a very challenging time still.
Yeah.
What I have found amazing about Cyrus from the beginning is that he can just stand there and be threatening. There's a gravitas, and it's like you don't know what he's going to do. I actually felt that a little bit from you on the red carpet last June.
That's funny.
I just, but can you talk about what you bring to a character like this, where you will just bring an imposing presence to the people around Cyrus, the way you do?
Well, it's, I am of the philosophy of acting, which is acting is behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances. That was Sandy Meisner, the neighborhood playhouse. That's what he described acting as. And, I'm not smart enough to know what to put out in a given role or in a given scene, but I am smart enough to know what I would want in that scene. And I know that the life of the scene comes about by me being fully engaged with my partners. And so if I bring myself to that, and I've had some life experience. I've you don't have enough time to go into all of that, but you bring life experience and you connect to another human being, given the circumstances of, this is a guy who needs power. This is a guy who needs people to love him. This is a guy who needs to win. And the rest just sort of takes care of itself, especially when you don't rehearse and no one knows what's going to come out and you don't really know what's going to come out. And then you let it come out and they just let it stand there. So it kind of gives you permission to do whatever happens.
Sure. I mean, back in the genre's infancy and through, I think even into the 70s, it was like, they were shot what's called live on tape, meaning you started and you didn't stop. And I imagine some element of that feels familiar to any of the veterans who performed under those circumstances.
Well, it's basically the same now in terms of each individual scene. You don't stop and, unless an actor falls down or completely goes off script,
right.
They just take it and move on. So for me, the challenge was, make this alive and really be alive in front of the camera, and don't be careful,
right?
Because being careful just is the death of spontaneity. They are actually opposites, So
we saw Cyrus's vulnerability with a couple of characters. We see it with Laura, and we definitely see it with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this big, powerful crime lord willing to like bump people off, and he didn't know where his mom was. I mean, we started to feel really badly for you, and that's an amazing thing for you to get us to do as an actor, because like everyone's got a soft spot for their moms,
Well, and it's, I guess some people would say that that's not the correct approach to a character, but I think one of the most important things I need to do as a human is to not dehumanize anyone, to not put anyone in the class of other. Like anything that a human could do, I could be capable of. And if I say those people are evil, and I'm saying that I don't know how someone does that, but I do know how someone does that. Someone is scared enough, someone is angry enough, someone is needy enough. We're all capable of doing what a human can do. So, a human who desperately needs the love of his mother and happens to be a crime lord, that makes perfect sense to me.
I remember some scenes you did, I think it was about maybe a little over a year ago, out at Cassadine, Windermere. And
Right.
Cyrus told Laura, examine how you enjoyed bringing me down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the look on her face was like, oh boy, I did enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought those were incredibly rich dynamics. And Jeannie Francis has told me she loves working with you. Can you talk about what it's been like working with her?
Well, one of the ways that I describe working on GH is that it's like doing theater without rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
It's even a proscenium stage. There's, they had to correct me quite a few times in the early days because I would end up with my back to the camera. And they said, no, Jeff, you have to face this way, because I was just being a human and moving around as a human does. And Jeannie, I've come to find out, is an extraordinary stage actress. And, what we did for each other, I think, was reminded each other why we got into this. An actor gets into acting because they love to play. They love to step into the unknown and, have nothing to keep themselves moving forward, but their wits and their willingness. And, she and I gave each other that permission. And it was, she's soap opera royalty. I felt blessed to be, when I found out I got to be her half brother and all that entailed. It was like, that was a gift.
And Michael, he had this role on All My Children for many years.
Yeah.
And every actor in town who later went on to get their own role in this genre auditioned for that role. And they chose Michael because of the choices he makes, the intelligence behind those choices. He trusts that the audience is going to get exactly where he's going. And can you talk about working with him a little bit?
Michael Knight.
Oh, Michael Knight. Yeah.
He's got a big, beautiful, open heart.
Mhm.
And I think 3 Emmys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, yeah, but they're daytime Emmys, Jeff. I said, shut up, they're Emmys, you know. And it was a delight. And there's one scene where we just sat in the bar talking for an entire day, and so it was, you know, several pages of dialogue, and it was like sitting in a bar and talking with Michael all day. And that to me is like real acting, because you get to, you know, bust each other's chops a little bit. You get to make fun of each other. You get to challenge each other. You get challenged by somebody and see how you react. It was always going to be a fun day when I worked with either one of them.
A young actor who played Michael's son on All My Children told me once, and he said this with all the respect in the world. He did a rehearsal with Michael E. Knight at All My Children, and then he went to the director and he said, "I'm so sorry, I have memorized the wrong script." And the director said, "No, that's Michael, just go with it." So you're laughing, so I'm guessing that being in the moment with Michael is a good thing.
Well, if you're talking to somebody and they, you know, flip
Right.
the phrases on a sentence, you better have your response flipped as well.
Exactly.
You know, and so it's, again, the power of acting is listening, not doing. It's listening, and then allowing that listening to guide you. And he's, as far as I would go with that, he would go even further. So yeah, we had a great time.
Can I ask you, did you throw your hat in the ring for the Emmys again this year?
I did. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching your scenes last year, and I think they were in February, and I just thought, oh, great, Emmy stuff right out of the way. Just get it done in February. That's terrific.
That's funny. Yeah.
I mean, awards are great, and what I always like about them is that it brings the community together for one night. People from other shows, people on your own show that you may not work with, and therefore it's just a night to kind of celebrate, unwind a little bit, say, hey, I know you and I like your work. And that's what I've always liked about it. I haven't heard much about the show this year, but hopefully it will be maybe a scaled up version from last.
Yeah, last year was a bit odd, wasn't it?
Very odd. I'd never been anything like that before in my life. Whose phone is ringing? Not mine. It was mine. Let me ask you, you're also so well known for China Beach. And that show was regarded as regarded as critically acclaimed on all levels, but also specifically about the respect it would show what that era was about. And it was portrayed realistically so that it was presented well for anyone who might not know it. Mm-hmm. What was your experience on that show like?
It was such a unique experience because it mattered so much. You know, we had Bill Broyles, who was the co-creator of it. He had written a half-hour pilot about the nurses and the donut dollies in Vietnam, and then John Young got involved, and the two of them came up with that 1 hour idea of China Beach. And you know, Bill himself was a combat Marine. He was a lieutenant in Vietnam. And so he'd had that experience. And then we had all these different veterans come through and all these nurses that had had experiences there. And we would talk to them and find out what their actual experience was. And when you're presenting or representing real humans who went through real trauma and had never been recognized for it, because that was when we were doing that show, it was at the same time as our country was finally, and the people of our country were finally beginning to take stock of Vietnam and beginning to accept what happened there. and beginning to recognize the people who went there because they believed in it, or because they believed in the country, or because they had to, and all those different experiences. It never became about ego. It was always, let's do the absolute best job we can do so that we properly represent these people and their experience. And it was that way from the top of the call sheet to the bottom of the call sheet. Everyone in between, everyone was there working as hard as they possibly could to really offer respect to the whole proposition. So it was extraordinary to work on.
And you and Dana had traveled to Vietnam. What was that experience like?
That was a gas. We went to Vietnam. We knew we were going to be starting late that year because it was the year of the writer's strike.
Yeah.
And they had just opened Vietnam up to tourism. The Russians had left, and we got there literally 1 month after they opened it to tourism. And we ended up in a tour group with the two of us and Bill Stevenson, who was the author of A Man Called Intrepid. And he was going there to tell every Vietnamese official he could find that if they had American soldiers still being held, now would be the time to let them go, and they would get a lot of goodwill if they did that. So the three of us traveled around, and I still have such sharp memories of our experience there, because we dealt with the secret police. my room was bugged at the Hanoi Hilton, or not the Hanoi Hilton, the Hotel Rex in Saigon. We just had such adventures, and we were the first Westerners that a lot of these people had seen since the war. So it was profound in many different ways, and oddly it informed my character kind of opposite. Being there, I began to see how what was going on there was less than noble on our part, and a lot more to do with corporations, and which a lot of wars are, I imagine. But I had to stop doing research at a certain point, because I was starting to doubt as a soldier, why someone would be there. Just seeing the people and knowing, and the one big takeaway from being there was that as long as one Vietnamese person was still alive, they'd still be fighting, because they were tireless. They were building roads by hand. They were out gathering moss from the bottom of a lake at 4 o'clock in the morning to feed to their ducks and their chickens. And it was like, I grew up on a farm. I know what work is like, and they put me to shame.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long did that show run?
I think it was like 3.5 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stopped right after, I think, 54 episodes, something like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Shifting a little bit, one of your other credits, I'm hoping some residuals are going to come along your way, because they just launched all 8 or 9 seasons on Amazon Prime. Falcon Crest. Shift. I mean, that was its own little world in the primetime soap scene. And do you have any memories of your time in the Tuscany Valley?
I had a lot of fun with Brett Cullen,
Sure.
who was on the show.
Yep.
And he and I are still dear friends. We've done a few other shows together, and my first movie was with his wife, so we go way back. Out of Bounds, Michelle Little was my little friend. Just as a side note, I was playing an evil drug lord in that movie, go figure. And I killed probably 7 or 8 people in the movie, but I also killed her little pet white mouse. And people would come up to me after the movie and they go, "Oh man, you're the guy who killed that mouse." No one ever said you're the guy that killed 7 or 8 people. It was like, you killed a mouse. I didn't kill a mouse. There was no mice were killed in the filming of this movie. So I remember Brett, and I remember working with a director who I can't remember his name at this moment, but he was really a good director. And at one point I came to him and I said, hey man, this scene we're doing, it's the same as that scene we did in yesterday. It's the same scene with just different words. He said, yes, we just have to muddle on through till we get to something that matters. And it was such a great perspective at that time, to just give me permission to just, go out and do the job I was being paid to do.
It is helpful when the people around you can kind of say, yeah, we feel that too, and here's how we're going to get through it.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
How are you finding the world now with things opening up? Are actors still doing a lot of self-tapes and Zoom calls?
All self-tapes, as far as I know, as far as I've been exposed to. Yeah.
What do you miss about being able to go into the room and saying hello to the producers and meet the people who are interested in you?
Well, I enjoy meeting those people, but it's such an adversarial relationship in the way it was set up before. And that seems to have changed now, because it's not like you are competing with all the other guys in the room. You see the same guys over and over and over again. They're the guys in your who look like you, who are your age, and who take up the same roles. But it's like this false. It's not like you're just going in to have a conversation with somebody. You're also going in to win a role and to, present your version of it. And you have to kind of split your focus. Like, okay, am I going to be social, or am I going to do my work as an actor? And especially when you're a young actor, no one really talks about it, but auditioning it's like a different skill set than acting.
Oh, sure.
It's I'm a pretty good actor, but there are times when I just really suck as an auditioner. I worked with Patty Duke, and she never got a role from an audition. And she worked a long time, but she could not do an audition. I mean, she readily admitted it. So
that's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of it I don't miss. I don't miss that aspect of it. And yeah, it's the nice thing about going in and really having an opportunity to work with a director and to say, take an adjustment. That's great. If you really know the role and if you're really in it, then you can use that juice to really bring yourself forward. If you have questions about it, it can be a version of hell. That part I don't miss. But meeting the director and the writer and producer like that it can be really thrilling.
I saw that you on your IMDb, you've got a credit in like an art department, because your original paintings were shown in Kindred the Embrace.
Yeah.
Which starred a good friend of the soap world's Stacey Haydick, who's over on Days of Our Lives now.
Oh yeah.
She's terrific.
My character, yes, she is. We had a lot of fun together. We're still in touch. But my character was 3,000 years old, and I said, if I'm 3,000 years old, I have a hobby. So take your pick. I either play the cello or I'm a painter. And I didn't know how to do either one at the time. And they said, okay, you're a painter. So then we were getting close to where paintings had to be seen. And they said, well, we need a painting. And so I had to figure out really fast how to be a painter. So
what'd you do? Self-taught or books or?
Yeah, I read books, and then I took the first one I did was a portrait of this kid whose life I saved. And I took a slide picture of him and then projected it on a canvas and sketched it out and then painted it.
What did you think of GH's decision to have Cyrus, because I've been wondering how they're going to get this guy out. How they gonna like, where are they going next? And when they revealed that Cyrus had found religion, I thought, bingo. Why didn't I think of this? I thought it was a great decision. I thought Laura's reaction to it was classic.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you like your siblings, even if you haven't known each other that long. So can you talk about that decision, and do you feel like it's a doorway that they've left open in a way?
Well, yeah, because Cyrus goes away for apparently a long time, and they can't have people. And they made sure to say it was a prison that was far away from Port Charles, so that I couldn't have a effect on the people in Port Charles. And you can't have people coming to visit him. So I thought he should find a way to get out and come back and start a church. That's what I'm thinking.
I've got my last question for you before we go to some of our attendees, and I know one of our friends out there, Thane, you need a couple of minutes to prepare your question. So if you can start that, that'd be great, and then I'll ask Jeff. Do you know what's on your reel that you submitted this year to the Emmys?
The only thing I put on was the scenes from my when I but
a guest.
a guest. Bud, come here and say hi. I want to see. Come here, buddy. This is Bud Powell.
Bud Powell. I love it.
I put on the scenes from when Laura had to talk me out of killing myself, and where I had been shot, and I was running from the police. So all those scenes where Laura and I really confront each other, and she's trying to get me to give myself up.
Those were great. We do a performer of the week for each show every week here at Soap Hub, and it is often hotly debated among the editors who will be the candidate from General Hospital, because we all will say, well, what about so-and-so? Yeah, well, I like this person, and we all have strong arguments. So there's a lot of passing of checks and promises to wash cars if someone will give up their favorite.
Fantastic.
Thane, are you ready with your question?
You've been in dozens of screen productions. What has been your favorite TV show or movie you've acted in, and why?
I'd have to say it's China Beach held that place solely for a long time. And then I got to do The Walking Dead. And once again, it was the experience of all these people pulling together and working really long, hard hours and not making it about themselves. Andrew Lincoln, every time I talk about that show, I talk about how he was so selfless. And he was #1 on the call sheet, and he was there off screen, off camera for you. He never complained, and he worked himself to the bone. And if the #1 on the call sheet's not complaining, no one else complains either. So it was just really a joy to work with him. Plus, they gave me such great scenes to play. There's one of my favorite scenes was asking Daryl. I said, "You a cat person, Daryl?" "I am. Vicious little creatures." And I go on and talk about cats. It's like, who writes that stuff? Greg Nicotero, apparently. And that really sticks with me as a fantastic experience that I'm glad I had. Thanks for the question, Thane.
Awesome. Thank you, Thane. Next, we'd like to go to, and I'm really sorry that what's been happening to you over the last couple of years. I think it's very unfair. We'd like to go to Karen. And I think you're probably in the process of being unmuted.
Hi, I wasn't expecting to be on.
Oh,
I noticed you, what was it, a couple of months ago when Big Sky was, can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Okay, when Big Sky was on, you had a small part on it. How did you get to Big Sky?
Well, I'm from Montana, so there's that. Has nothing to do with how I got to Big Sky. I read for the role. It was that was and I've actually done a couple other episodes of it now. It's kind of a recurring character now. But I got to be the father of a non-binary character, and try to come to terms with that. And again, it's like doing China Beach. It's getting to represent what some aspect of society is going through. Like people coming to terms with all the different political things about not wanting to have gender equality, and then other people demanding it, and then getting to play a character that kind of embodies that experience of how do I do this, and being really clumsy at it. I enjoyed.
I and my husband got kind of hooked on Big Sky.
You
We
like it?
like watching that show.
There sure are pretty people though, aren't they?
Oh, they're good actors.
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're good. They
Well,
can keep us, the writers do a good job keeping the audience in suspense.
that's great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks, Karen. That was a great question. I like that show as well. Next, we're going to go to Eileen. And Eileen, if you are going to be unmuted and want to ask your question, please go right ahead.
Eileen, could you just tap the unmute button, please?
There. Can
There
you
you
hear me
go.
now?
Yep.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much to Soap Hub for hosting this. And Jeff, you're an amazing actor. My husband watches General Hospital with me. He has for like 40 years now. And we so enjoyed your character. And
Oh,
I'm hoping that you get to come back. And I was wondering if you do come back, if you kind of foresee like a family connection out of all this, or where you see your character maybe going.
it's a really good question. And they, in the soap world, anything can happen. And I don't know if they got the idea from me, but I suggested to Frank that I think that Cyrus needed to find religion. And I think I remember him saying that'll never happen. And now it has. So I think it would be really, because of the way that it happened with Jeannie and me. You don't know if Cyrus is for real or not. And I love that kind of ambiguity. Is he sincere? Because that would be weird. But if he's not sincere, what the hell is he doing? And I would. That's what I would imagine it would be, something along the lines of, yeah, he's trying to have family still, and he's trying to save people. But what's he really doing?
Right. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you. And I do hope you come back to General Hospital.
Thanks so much, Eileen. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Eileen. That was a great question. And now we'd like to go to Mary Lynn. And if Mary Lynn, you can unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Mary Lynn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Good. I was just wondering, after you got shot and you showed up at Dr. Robinson's house, I was so surprised to see that your hair, your ponytail was gone. And it's just your long hair, and which I love. And I was just wondering, was that your idea or the producer's idea to let your hair?
Well, the producer, Frank, said at one point, we have to find a way to show your hair. And since it was clear that Cyrus was going to be going away, I said, I think this is the place where we're going to do that. And, it's a physical representation of the fact that his whole life is falling apart. So clearly his ponytail has to fall apart too. But God, it was long, wasn't it?
I loved it.
Absurdly long. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now if we could go to Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Hello,
How are you, Andrea?
good.
There she is.
Yep, I see you. What's your question?
When is Cyrus gonna come back?
Everyone here write letters, and maybe it will be sooner rather than later. I have no idea. Actors are guns for hire. We're just sort of sitting in the corner in neutral, idling, waiting for someone to give us permission to go. So that's where Cyrus is right now.
Yes. Does Cyrus have?
Uh-oh.
I think we lost you there. Could you try repeating it?
Does Cyrus have any kids that we know of?
Not that we know of. No.
Do you think he does?
Oh my God. Of course he does. Yeah. Yeah. Although his dating skills leave a bit to be desired from the experience I had on General Hospital. He never really, I don't want to get into that conversation.
Andrea, thanks for your question. Could we go now to Lisa? And if you could unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Lisa.
So I was on your website and I love your photography. And
Thank you.
yeah, if I was in the West Coast, I would schedule a wet plate session with you.
All right.
But my question is based on your bio. It mentioned that in your 20s, you happen to be a carny. So I was curious what you did at the carnival.
I sold corn dogs and corn on the cob and hot dogs and deep fried burritos. They used to do those, like deep fried burritos. I had a joint on the corner of Bourbon and Iberville at the 1975 Mardi Gras. I traveled the South with the Donnie Love Traveling Concession Show, and it sold food and basically I was just I was a troublemaker. Yeah, carnies are the FBI came through our show in Jackson, Mississippi, and we lost about half the people who were working.
Wow.
This was 1974, 75, and a lot of people, there were draft dodgers, there were some illegal aliens, there were some known felons.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, those were my people at the time. It was
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Christine, could we get you to ask your question, please, once you're unmuted?
Sure, I'm unmuted. I love seeing Jeff's appearances on NCIS Los Angeles,
Oh.
especially when you were like in the cell next to Hetty.
Oh my God. She's a national treasure. She's amazing. She's just, yeah, she's amazing.
That's cool. Any other recollections about Chris or LL Cool J or anybody?
I didn't really get to interact with them very much. Almost all of it was with Hetty and the tiger.
Yeah, the tiger.
Someone asked me, did you pet the tiger? And I said, no. You know why? Because it's a tiger. But Hetty, again, it's about listening. And when you have someone like Hetty, Academy Award winner and just talent for days, you just listen, and it brings you alive in a way that that nothing else really can. So it was really special to get to work with her.
Great. It was fun watching it.
Good, thanks.
That's amazing. Ellen, does Ellen have a question?
Actually, we're going to Allison
Sorry,
first.
we're gonna, yeah.
My bad. Allison, could we go to you first?
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Allison.
Jeff. Hey, how are you?
Okay.
I'd like to know what you're going to be doing more now in the future, that we could see more movies and stuff you're going to be doing.
I just did a movie called Cash for Gold, written and directed by a friend of mine, Deborah Pewitt. It's a really good movie. It has a lot to do with a woman trying to find her way and with anti-Arab sentiment. It presented in a really realistic and truthful and sensitive fashion. So I just finished that. I did a role on a new Apple series that's going to be called High Desert or Swamp Flower, one or the other, with Patricia Arquette.
Okay.
And if it goes for a second season, they tell me I'm going to be doing a lot on it. And, you know, the rest I just published a book. So that's
Got it right here.
Oh, there, look at that. And
Look at that.
got tintype photography on it as well. Thank you.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah. I love it. I'm halfway through.
The check is in the mail. Thank you.
Oh. Halfway through. It's a great book.
Thanks so much, Allison. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Jeff, tell us what Embracing Bliss is about. When did you write it?
Well, I've for the last 11 years or so, I've sent out daily meditation or thought, because if you're having a less than blissful experience of life, there's a way to move in the direction of having a blissful experience of life, and meditation is absolutely essential in my experience for that. But then also, you got to change the way you're thinking up here, because what we pay attention to grows. And the book is about, okay, I know you're worried about something today, but look at this for just a moment. And if you read a page or 2 pages of what I write there, it allows you to look at something from a slightly different perspective. Like that, one of the great sayings, and no one knows who really said this originally, is that, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. And if you remember that when someone is a jerk in traffic, it might allow you to not let the anger take you over for a minute. And like this, you just change things a little bit at a time, a little bit every day. You can move in the direction of, becoming the person you want to be, which is all of us really want to be able to love and allow ourselves to be loved. And because the world is so challenging, we end up being angry and frightened a lot of the time. So if I know that for me, listening to someone else or reading something from someone else who's telling me, I know you're frightened, but you can look at it this way, it was really helpful in me changing my experience of the world. So the book is about, read this on a daily basis or something like it, and it can help to change your experience of the world, if you want to change your experience of the world.
Where is it available? Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Powell's Books.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
a link on your Instagram, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. And on my Instagram.
And now I believe we're going to go to Ellen. Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I was wondering if you do come back on GH. I want to try to write letters also and call. Is it possible that Cyrus could have is you capable of having a loving relationship with anyone? Like have a partner or something like that?
They would have to be an interesting character, wouldn't they?
Yeah. It'd take a miracle, right?
it would take a miracle, but I could see it happening. But boy, they'd have to have a really specific kind of a personality, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Oh, I never watched. I had the opportunity to watch China Beach when it was on, but I never did. So now I'm going to see if I can find it on Hulu or Netflix. So I really want to see you on it.
Well, thank you. It's on DVD, but I don't think it's streaming anywhere right now. Having to do with probably with the music rights, because they use so much, music from the 60s in there, and back then we didn't know streaming, we didn't know DVD,
right?
So
I know
they didn't get the rights to all that stuff. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Thanks, Ellen.
And now I believe we're going to go to Sherry. Sherry, if you could unmute yourself and we'll hear you.
Unmuted.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi. I've noticed that on your resume you've been, and I've seen you in all of them. You've been really lucky and gotten cast in big fan base shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and The Walking Dead, and Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of answered this earlier about you love working on The Walking Dead, but I was wondering, you play such intense characters. How do you find that balance? How do you create a balance to not go dark in real life?
Earlier in my career, I was dark in real life, and not dark in the sense of, having a dark soul, but dark in the sense of just unable to have an experience of enjoying myself, just unable to get out of, hell is self-induced, and it comes from what's happening in here. And early in my career, being able to portray that was a relief, because I got to put out here everything that was in here. And then as you go along, as I went along, as I've gone along, I've just spent 40 years meditating, traveled to India 13 times. I've done all kinds of strange and interesting types of interior work, so that I'm no longer dark inside, but you still know how to do that. So it's when you know that your personality is not what you are, that what you are is behind the personality, then you just shift the personality a little bit and it goes dark. And there's a fascinating thing that I learned. I did the role of a really horrible human being on Law and Order SUV. And I was a cult leader. And I played it as a righteous man of God instead of a horrible person. And the situation made it look like I was a horrible person. I didn't have to play horrible. I played someone who was legitimately believed that his 12-and-a-half-year-old wife was going to birth the new Christ. Yeah, that was the story. I didn't make this up. I just play it. But if you legitimately believe that allows a certain kind of behavior. And then if you watch that behavior in context, it's awful. Mm-hmm. That's one show I still haven't watched it because it was just so gross.
And have you had any interesting fan encounters with the fans of those shows?
Yeah, I did a podcast with there are two women who, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but they take apart one of the Law and Order SUV plot lines each week and interview an actor or actress from that episode, and they talk about the crime that it actually represents that happened in real life. So I had an experience like this with the Law and Order people.
That's awesome. Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate your work. It's very interesting stuff.
Thanks so much, Sherry.
Absolutely. I think we have one final question that Ashley, our social media guru, is going to help us with because someone might have trouble getting through.
Yes, we have one of our fans, D Feather McGaw, wanted to say that they love watching you. Their mic's not working, but they want to know, what do you do in your downtime and what would be your perfect dinner?
Feather, by the way, Feather, just we were corrected in the chat. That's all. I'm just
Okay,
letting you know.
Heather. So what do I do in my downtime? In my downtime, I play with my dog. I do tintype photography. I teach meditation. I don't have a lot of downtime. I'm always doing something because life is short. And it's far more interesting to be doing something than not doing something. So, when I'm acting, I'm acting, but when I'm not acting, there are all these other great things. Like right now, I'm trying to learn how to. Tintype photography it's a really absurd way to take pictures, and it dates to like 1852, and you have to be a chemist to be able to do it, and it's almost impossible to do it perfectly. So I'm trying to do it perfectly on glass, because that's more challenging than doing it on tin, and so that takes up lots of time and energy. And the perfect dinner, Lord, kitchen style burrito without meat, lots of beans and cheese, and a salad, because you have to at least give a nod to being healthy.
Sounds delicious. I think we got it. Was that all our questions, Ashley?
Yes, that looks like all of our questions.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. Jeff, I want to thank you for your time and
Thank you.
Great performances. I hope we see you back in Port Charles soon and at the Emmys this year. And we will get the word out there on your book. And
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Bye, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye. Enjoy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.